Hello students, today we learn about the Kalamkari textiles which are the pride of India. And Kalamkari is a hand art patronized and practiced in different parts of India. Kalamkari is a type of hand painted or block printed cotton textile produced in parts of India and also in Iran. Its name originates in the Persian, which is derived from the words kalam meaning pen and kari meaning craftsmanship. The artists who made Kalamkari are called as Jadu Patwas or Dwari Patwas meaning magical printers. Though the art of dyeing fabrics is known as an ancient tradition in India, it is not certain as to when it all began. A piece of dye painted cloth was found in the remains of Mohenjo-daro and Harappa, and this seems to be the oldest evidence of the existence of the tradition. Probably the oldest sample available dates back to the 16th century, though some of the best specimens that can be found of the art today are dated back to 17th and 18th century. Most of the information known is from the accounts of the travelers from that period. Kalamkari gained popularity as a temple art in South India in the kingdom of Vijayanagaram. It flourished around Hindu temples as supplements for murals in the interiors of temples. At the time, the themes were mainly religious. Minstrels would paint mythological figures on cloth and wander from place to place, singing and spreading the word of God. It was a part of a popular cult, and due to its vast rural base became a representative of the grassroots culture of India. During the 16th century, a lot of internal warfare between the Marathas and Mughals and also Rajputs influenced the art in many different ways. Kalamkari evolved into a new Deccani style after the invasion of the Mughals. It also took in the attributes of miniature paintings under Ibrahim Adil Shah of Bijapur around 1580 to 1627. As the Persians settled in the Golconda region, imported large number of Chinese porcelain, a Chinese influence was also seen in the Golconda school of Kalamkari. It was during this Mughal era when this style of painting got recognition and the finest Kalamkari textiles were produced. Mughals promoted this art in the Golconda and Coromandel province, where skillful craftsmen used to practice this art. That is how this art and the word Kalamkari evolved. Under the Golconda Sultanate, this art flourished at Padana near Machilipatnam in the Krishna district of Andhra Pradesh, and further it was promoted during the 18th century as a decorative design on clothing by Britishers in India. These were traded through the port of Machilipatnam to Western and Southeast Asia before the Europeans. The ruling king of Golconda court, Muhammad Quli Qutub Shah of AD 1580 to 1611, he was of Persian origin, and a lot of Persians were settled in this region at that point, and the king carried out the court in the Persian style. And Kalamkari is given different names by different parts of the world. The Portuguese termed it pintado, that is printed or spotted, and the Dutch named it as sits, that is painted, and the English referred it as chintz, and the French called it as toiles paintes. The traders and merchants across the world used Kalamkari paintings as currency in the spice trade. There was a very high demand in India for spices, especially from Southeast Asia and Indonesia. These traders demanded Indian textiles in form of Kalamkari paintings for their rituals and ceremonial use. It was not just a textile craft, but reflected the changes that took place in the society. The study of this textile design tradition brings to light the evolution and change that took place in the lives of Indian people. Its origin as a religious tapestry, the folk beliefs that shaped it, the transformation under Muslim rule as secular craft, and finally as a flourishing item of trade under the British, when international market demands left its impress on the Indian base fabric, making it a fabric of true historical value. Kalamkari textiles took many forms depending on their intended market. Prayer rugs, canopies and door covers painted with mehrab designs, animal forms and floral motifs were made for the Middle Eastern market, while tree of life bed covers and dress material that resemble quill work was painted for the European market. On the other hand, patterned hip and shoulder wrappers and narrative wall hangings were traded to Southeast Asian market, and material for ropes and jackets were sent to East Asia. In the 17th century, Kalamkari saw a rise in demand from the Mughals, Persians, Dutch as well as the British. The Kalamkari fabrics of India with jewel bright colors, printed and painted in fascinating and intricate designs, caught the fancy of women in England and France and became the fashion for daily wear. What attracted them the most was the brilliant coloring, undimmed by repeated washes, the light texture and drape of the fabric, and its strength and durability, a unique and an unprecedented combination, rendering the cloth suitable for variety of uses. But the originality of the Kalamkari prints did not last for long. In order to make the trade more profitable in Europe, some modifications of traditional Indian patterns and motifs were necessary to suit the Western taste. As early as 1640s, London directors proposed modifications to suit home taste, and after 1660, specimens of European masters began to be sent regularly to the factors to guide the craftsmen. Hence, a school of hybridized motif patterns with a happy blending of Western, Persian and purely indigenous elements evolved, which proved more fanciful and appealing to the Western taste. There are two distinctive styles of Kalamkari art in India, that is, one is the Srikalahasti type and the other one is Machilipatnam style. The Srikalahasti style of Kalamkari or pen Kalamkari it can be called, it is used for free hand drawing of the subject and filling in the colors, is entirely hand worked. This style flowered around temples and their patronage, and so had an almost religious identity. Motifs are drawn in Kalamkari, spans from flowers, peacocks, scrolls, temple hangings, chariot, banners and the like, depicted deities and scenes taken from the Hindu epics like Ramayana, Mahabharata, Puranas and the mythological classics. Natural dyes from plants and other minerals were utilized for getting colors such as red, green, blue, violet, black and yellow. Alum and iron were the mordants that have been used. The fabrics were also made ready for printing using the natural means. So, excellent pieces of Kalamkari are seen today in many museums around the world, like especially in case of Victoria and Albert Museum, the Metropolitan Museum, etc., who also conduct shows for making these textiles known to the present world. Then let us see how these fabrics are made first of all ready to take up the Kalamkari print or paint. So, unbleached cotton fabric is scoured by immersing it overnight in sheep dung suspension. The cloth is exposed to the sun for a day by spreading it on the banks of the river. Water is continually sprinkled on the cloth to prevent it from drying. In the evening, the cloth is washed by folding it and slapping it against a washing stone, followed by rinsing it in the flowing river. It is then re-immersed in a freshly prepared sheep dung suspension and treated as before. On the second day, the sprinkling is stopped in the late evening, the cloth is washed and then dried. The dry cloth that has been scoured and bleached is impregnated with a myrobalan milk and worked in it for 15 minutes, after which it is folded, squeezed lightly and dried in the sun on the sandy river banks for an hour. The cloth is folded and can be stored in a cool, dry place for a maximum period of 3 months. The milk treatment prevents dye solution from spreading beyond the point of application. And coming to the dye sources that are being used, natural dyes that are used to paint colors in Kalamkari art are extracted from natural sources with no use of chemicals and artificial matter. For instance, craftsmen used to extract black color called kasim in local language by blending jaggery, water and iron fillings, which they essentially use for outlining the sketches. Maybe this was fermented for 21 days and then they made it ready for getting this black background. Then while mustard or yellow is derived by boiling pomegranate peels or myrobalan flower, red hues are created from bark of madder or alizarin. Browns are obtained from katta or can be called as katechu, and grey shades are obtained from ratanjot. Likewise, blue is obtained from indigo and green is derived by mixing yellow and the blue together. Coming to the original process of making printing or painting with Kalamkari. So, first of all, the borders are drawn along the 4 sides with iron vinegar or kasim, that is made like that to check for any smudging. This test includes actually drawing the lines, and it indicates that the myrobalan milk has been properly applied. To draw these borders, 1 centimeter of cloth from the edge is folded and 2 corners are pulled apart to keep the fold taut. A charcoal pencil that is held between 2 fingers and thumb is pulled over the fold to draw a straight line. In this manner, 4 charcoal lines are drawn to delineate a rectangular area within which the concept will be sketched. These charcoal lines are made permanent by applying iron vinegar over them. For this purpose, the iron vinegar or maybe kasim is poured into a cup and the column is charged with this solution by immersing its reservoir into the cup contents. The excess solution is squeezed out and the column is dexterously drawn over the charcoal lines to leave a thin trail of iron vinegar over it. The ferrous in the vinegar combines with the underlying tannic acid and slowly turns from grey to black as the ferrous gets oxidized to ferric. After the liquid trail has dried, the area within the boundary is divided into rows with a charcoal pencil. The conceptualized drawing is directly sketched onto the fabric with a charcoal pencil held between the forefinger and the thumb, and mistakenly drawn lines are rubbed with a piece of cloth wrapped around the forefinger. More often, the design is modified to incorporate the erroneous lines. The cloth is folded with the lines inside when it has to be stored. The sketched lines are made permanent by drawing the column containing the iron vinegar over the lines. Any excess drop is immediately blotted with a moist cotton cloth. After use, this column is stored in the cup containing the iron vinegar. The trail of iron vinegar is dried and aged for 1 to 7 days without folding the cloth. The unfixed ferrous is washed by laying the cloth with the lines facing upwards over a stream of fast flowing water. If the flow of water is not fast enough or the cloth is improperly laid on the water, the unfixed ferrous can migrate to adjacent areas and stain them. The cloth is then beaten on a washing stone, rinsed and dried on the river bank with the outlines facing skyward. The cloth without lines is treated with myrobalan milk as before and can be stored in a dry state for up to around 3 months. In the next stage, the cloth is colored red. These areas of the cloth to be colored in red or orange or violet are filled with alum solution. So, a different column with a thicker nib is charged by dipping them in a cup containing the alum solution and then squeezing out the excess. The alum solution is carefully applied to the desired areas with the aid of the kalam. The alum solution is allowed to dry and the mordant is aged for 2 to 3 days. Unbounded alum is removed as before in fast flowing water. The cloth, however, is not beaten at this time. If a discharge has top application, the cloth is dried, else otherwise it can be dried without drying. Lines or spots of alum can be discharged by applying lime juice, that is citric acid, with another fine tipped kalam. After the lime juice dries, the alum citrate chelate is removed by rinsing in a bucket of water. The mordant is now fixed on the cloth and is ready to bind to the red dye in the next step. The natural dye solution is extracted now using the source Rubia cordifolia root. The cloth is worked in the hot dye for 45 minutes to 60 minutes until the dye begins to boil. The cloth is then removed and placed in a pile on a stone and allowed to cool. It is then rinsed 2 to 3 times in a bucket of water until the red dye stops running. The cloth is then immersed in sheep dung again for a night as done before. The following day, the dye in the unmordant areas is bleached by spreading the cloth with outline side downwards on a sand bed. It is always kept moist by continually sprinkling it with water. In the evening, the cloth is stored under freshly prepared sheep dung solution and bleached in the sun as on the previous day and then kept for another night in sheep dung solution. On the third day, the cloth is exposed to the sun with the outlines facing skywards and kept moist as done before. The cloth is thoroughly washed then and dried with the outlines facing skywards. The yellow dye is applied to areas that have to be colored yellow, orange or green. A separate kalam with a thicker nib is made ready by dipping it in a cup containing the yellow dye solution and then squeezing out the excess. The myrobalan flower extract is very carefully applied to the desired areas with the aid of the kalam and wherever this yellow color is required. The yellow dye is allowed to dry and cloth is aged again for 4 to 5 days. The cloth is washed in flowing water and dried in the sun with the outlines facing downwards. Then, if you want to get the blue color, the leuco indigo is applied with a separate kalam to areas that have to be colored blue, green or violet. The leuco indigo is kept in a glass or plastic jar that has a cover and it can be stored for some time. At the end of the day, the contents of the jar are poured back into the vat and the indigo kalam is washed immediately after the use. The cloth is aged again for 1 to 2 days after indigo coloration. Then for getting the brown colors and all, the Kutch extract is applied like the myrobalan flower extract to areas that have to be colored brown. The milk odor is removed by washing with retardant solution, taking it as a detergent. And in this way, actually the painting of this kalamkari is being done. But as far as applying the alum and making the solution, alum solution and extracting the dye solution, it is going to be the same even for the printed Kalamkari textiles that are seen in Pedana of Machilipatnam of Andhra Pradesh. And here the block printed Kalamkari textiles, it is the specialty of this Pedana Kalamkari, and here blocks are made with wood depicting number of designs, especially from mythology. Depending upon the design and the colors assigned for that particular design, those many number of blocks are being made. So, the first is the outline block, and generally it will have only the outline and no filling areas. And matching with this, the filling one color, for example, if you have a red color, and so the red color another block will be made, and only it will contain the areas of red only, and another color maybe say one yellow color. In that case, only yellow portions are being highlighted in that particular block. Like that, filling blocks and also the outline blocks are being made. So, using the outline block, the design outlines are printed with kasim or that iron vinegar mixed with gum, which turns to black after some time. Then we will be able to see the design on the fabric. Later, alum mordant is then imprinted in the areas on the fabric with filling blocks. Later, it is boiled in natural dye extract of one color for about 45 to 60 minutes. So, now one color appears on the fabric and wherever alum is present. Later, the areas of the other colors are painted with a brush, and so since they are painted, only it is possible to have 2 to 3 colors over here, and now the fabrics are washed after drying them, and then they are dried in the shade and then made ready. Then let us see what are the applications of these Kalamkari textiles in an Indian market. Kalamkari textiles are always in fashion, especially in recent years due to the use of natural or organic colorants that are being used. At present, Kalamkari textiles are used as dress materials, scarves in various sizes, or curtain materials in various sizes, or tablecloths, or bedspreads, or table runners and table mats, cushion covers and pillow covers, and sarangs, and raw material for any use of jewelry, lampshades, and for making bags and other things. So, as the process of making Kalamkari is slow, many counterfeit textiles are seen in the market which are screen printed using the designs of Kalamkari and synthetic dyes. So, the expertise once mastered by the artisans is lost, and the textiles produced are having only few colors with medium fastness properties. Then there is a large scope that is awaiting for research on creating bright natural dye shades on different textiles with good color fastness.